Kadosh, Boker Or, Masechet Gittin Daf Amud Aleph 17a1. If you remember, we went and we said that Adahachi Atahu Chabbara, there was a Parsi that came in and he took the candle away from them. Right? V'shakla l'shraga mikamayhu. Amar, so said Rabbi Bechana, Rachmana Kadosh Baruch Hu, O betula de Baresav. It's better to be or in your shade or in the shade of Baresav, the children of Esav, but not to be under the Persians. So ask the Gemara, are you going to tell me that right, that's what we're talking about here, that the Romaim, the Romans, the children of Esav are better than the Persians? He says, Vatani Rabbi taught, what does it mean in the Pasuk? Elohim, Hevin Darkah, Vehu Yada Mekomah. HaKadosh Baruch Hu understood the derech of the Torah, and he knew its place. What does that mean? Yodea HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the HaKadosh Baruch Hu knew that we couldn't accept the Romans. Amad v'igla otal maver, so therefore he sent us to Babylonia. Meaning HaKadosh Baruch Hu already knew that if he didn't send us to the Romans. Because if not, we would have, think about it, out of all the Galuyot, right, we weren't sent to Italy. We weren't sent to Rome, right? We were sent to Babylonia, right? We weren't sent there. Yeah? So he says, La Kashya, it's not a question.
We're sent to France.
La Kashya, it's not a question. Hami kamed nitu chabbare lebavel, hal levatar deate chabbare lebavel. There's no stira. Here we're talking about before the Persians came to Babylonia. And here we're talking about the story of Rabbi Bechana after the Persians came, right, to Babylonia, which means that after they came to Babylonia, it became much worse. Here, actually, in the footnote, it actually says, between the years of Shin Yutet and Shin Peitet, which is basically 3319 and 3389, right, there was a Malchet Kasdim in Bavel. Nebuchadnezzar, Evil Merudach, and Balshetzar, right? Those years were the first years where they were into exile into Bavel, right? And then the rest of them came 11 years later, when the Beit HaMikdash was destroyed, right, in Yerushalayim in the year 3338. Yeah, under the hands of the Kasdim, right? It says the Bnei Israel actually they benefited. So he says, Mamshelet Parsim beBavel, right? When the Persians started in Babylonia was 3389. So he says that's when Daryavesh and Koresh, right, took the Malchut from Belshazzar. So the Galut of Kasdim was actually easy. The Persians there, though, made it worse on Israel, right? And also the Romans were always much worse because the Romans always made many bad decrees against Bnei Israel. The Mishnah said, if one person says B'fanai nichtav, and two people come and they say B'fanenu nichtam, it's going to be kosher. Amar Rabbi Yami, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, says Rabbi Yami, Rabbi Yochanan, Lo shanu, what are we dealing with? Ela shaget yotze mitachat yad ed ktiva. Only if the get is coming out through the ed that says B'fanai nichtav, and he was the shliach of the Baal to bring the get, and that's why it's going to be kasher. Because now he becomes like two witnesses, right? And you already have two witnesses saying, so it's like 2 and 2. However, though, the chatima, what happens right now if the edim they're saying and the ketiba was not done through the shaliach, and it's only going to be one witness, it's going to be pasul. Alma, so you see from here, right? We hold. Two people bring get Medinat Hayam. They have to say, "Ufanenu nichtav, ufanenu nichtam." Yeah. So Elmaleh Rabbi Asi. So Rabbi Asi comes and he says, "Elamiata, we're going to ask the following question. Reisha diktani, the Reisha that says Shnaim omrim ufanenu nichtav. Ve'echad omer, and one of them says b'fanai nichtam." So again, one more time. Two people say b'fanenu nichtav. One person says b'fanai nichtam. It's going to be pasul. Rabbi Yehuda machshir. 1 second, even if the get is going to come out of both of them, Pasli Rabbanan, the rabbi said it's still going to be pasul, which means why? Because none of the shluchim is testifying on the ketiva and the chatima as one, meaning it's split. You go like split on the ketiva and the chatima. So Elmaleh comes and he says, you're right. Tanakama's posel the get in such a case. So Zimlin Ashkechad Yativ the Kamars, sometimes he went and he saw they were sitting and saying, yeah, even if you have a get which are coming out of the hands of the chatima, it's still going to be kasher. Alma, so you see from here, two people to bring a get in Medinat Hayam. You don't have to say so Elmaleh Rabbi Yassi comes and he says, we're going to ask the following question. Reisha diktani, in the Reisha that we learned, Remember, one more time, the Reisha was two people say b'fanenu nichtav. One person says b'fanenu nichtav, it's going to be pasul. Rabbi Yehuda says it's going to be kosher. Tama, the reasoning of the Tanna Kama that says pasul it doesn't come out from both of them. But if the get came from both of them, the rabbis are also going to say it's going to be kosher, meaning the Tanna Kama is going to be muda, it's going to be kosher. Elmaleh, he says, you're right. Right? Why? Because he says that Reisha is talking about a case where only one of the witnesses, right, was the shliach, not both of them. He says, one second, but sometimes he didn't say that. Elmaleh, he says, right, yated hi shelo timot, which means I retracted. And the words are like the last things that I just said. Meaning that people could retract. People could actually say, you know what? No. It's correct. It's not like that. Mishnah, on the bottom of Yud Zayin Amud Aleph. Mishnah. Nichtav bayom. Nichtav bayom. V'nechtam bayom. Right? If the get is written during the day and signed during the day, right? Or balayla v'nechtam balayla. Or balayla v'nechtam bayom. Kasher. So if it's day, night, and night, same right? Balayla v'nechtam balayla, right? In the same night, yeah. Or balayla v'nechtam bayom. It's going to be kasher. Why? Because it's the same day, right? Everything was the same tarikh. Everything was the same date, right? Correct or not? Day and day, night and night, which is the same night, right? Or night and the next day. It's all the same day. Bayom v'nechtam balayla, if it's going to be during the day and then signed in the night time, pasul. It's going to be pasul d'Rabbanan. Why? Because of it's called the get mugdam, because it's a preceding get. Rabbi Shimon Machshir, Rabbi Shimon says it's kosher. Rabbi Shimon kol gitin shleichtuim v'nechtam balayla pasulim. Says because Rabbi Shimon says that all the gitin which were written during the day and signed during the night time is going to be pasul, except for gitei nashim, except for a get of women, that it's going to be kosher even if it's going to be done during the day and then signed during the nighttime. Okay? Gemara says the Gemara, Itmar, it was stated, why do you need a date on a get? Think about it. Why do you need a date on the get? What do you care?
You care because you want to know when were they officially separated.
Says the Gemara,
also for money.
Rabbi Yochanan says, Mishum bat achoto. Did you just hear? Bat achoto. What is bat achoto? The niece. The niece. The niece. Why the niece? Sometimes it could happen, right, that a person's niece, right, he got married to his niece. Is that a mutar or not?
Yes.
It's a mitzvah. Not only is mutar, it's a mitzvah. It's a mitzvah to get married to your niece. To an aunt, it's prohibited. But to a niece,
brother or your daughter of this
sister. Doesn't matter technically, but usually even yeah, but it's mutar. Right here, it's always kegon bat achoto. Usually it's bat achoto. Right, but fine. So what happens is it's a niece. Yeah, very, very good. Now what happens? What happens is she comes and she cheats on the guy. So John Doe gets married to his niece, and then the niece of John Doe cheats on him. Now, no matter how much he's upset at his niece, right, and his wife, now became his wife also, no matter how much, he's not going to have her killed. So what's he going to do? He's going to write a get, right, and give it to her. And then if people find out about something, what's he going to say? I already gave it to her beforehand. She can't do anything to her. So I gave her the get beforehand.
So he's not going to take her to the Beit HaMikdash and do so.
No, for sure not.
Just because she's his niece?
Yeah, because he has mercy on her. At the end of the day, it's still his flesh and blood.
Mercy on her. She cheated on him.
But still, at the end of the day, he has mercy. Well, maybe not on her, maybe on his sister, whichever one you want, but he's got mercy. So therefore, because of that, that's what it says here. Mishum bat achoto, which means that what happens if bat achoto dizneh tachtav titchayev mitat betin, and now the betin have to kill her. All of a sudden, he's going to be chas aliyah. He doesn't want to kill her. So what happens? He's going to write her a get without a date, without anything. And now when the witnesses come and they come to Betin and say, look, she cheated on this and this date, he's going to pull out the get. He's going to say, listen, look, I already gave her a get. And since it's not written, there's no date. There's no date. So since there's no date, right, he's going to say, I divorced her before. There's no problem. So because of bat achoto, we were obligated always to write the date in the get.
Rabbi.
1 minute. Yeah? So that is the first concept of Rabbi Yohanan. Okay? That's why you have a get. Meaning, midoraita, you don't need a get. Why do you need a get? Only because of this. Why do you need a date on the get? Sorry. Right? because of this. Second reason is because of Resh Lakish. Resh Lakish amar mishum perot. What does it mean perot? David said this before. At the end of the day, remember that a husband could eat fruits, right, from the field, from the nisimilu, which means, let's say she had a property. So now he doesn't own the body of the property. But what does he get? He gets the rents of the property, right? That's called the perot of the nisimilu. So now we're going to think that if there's no date written on the get, he could continue eating, right? Meaning taking the fruits of the field, and nobody could really stop him because there's I just gave it to her yesterday. There's no date. So for she's going to be losing out. So this is going to be the second reason why do you need a date on a get. So one more time. Mitzad doraita, you didn't need a date on a get. You write a get, come on, right? You need lishmo, lishma, l'shem girushin, and that's it. But that's it. Why do you need a date? Because of Rabbi Yochanan, they say because of Shem Yechapeh al bat achoto. That's the terminology of the Gemara that we'll see right in a few minutes, which means that maybe he's going to cover up for his niece. And Resh Lakish says mishum perot, okay, because of fruits, okay. Resh Lakish might Rabbi Yochanan. Why does Resh Lakish not say like Rabbi Yochanan? The reasoning of Rabbi Yochanan was Shem Yechapeh al bat achoto. Maybe he's going to have mercy on his niece. Why doesn't Resh Lakish hold like Rabbi Yochanan? Elmaleh is going to tell you, Yud Zayin Mubet 17b, Znut lo shchicha, right? Znut is not common. Yeah, meaning that she's. By the way, here in the right, he comes and he says in the footnote, he doesn't actually in the way that they translate it. It doesn't mean that Znut is not shchicha, that it's not common, that kilu, that there's no such thing as immorality. No. That is common. But to be mitchayev bebetin on this, and then now the husband has to come and start doing all these, that's not common. Meaning the case is not common. Not that it's not common that a woman will cheat on her husband and all those things. That could happen, right? But that there's going to be witnesses, and it happens to be the niece, and he wants to protect her, because usually it's like what David said. If she got caught and it's not his niece, he would say, burn. Right or not? Maybe he wouldn't say that way. It was there, you pull the trigger, yeah? That's what usually here it's a niece. So is this maybe has Rabbi Yochanan? So why is Rabbi Yochanan not hold like Resh Lakish? Kasavar, he holds yesh labal perot achat netina. Says Rabbi Yochanan, why doesn't he hold Resh Lakish? He says, you know why? Because even if he did write this document 2 weeks ago, until he doesn't give over the get, right? He still gets the fruits. It doesn't matter when the get was written. So because of that, he says, so therefore you have to bring a proof when she was divorced. Because we're not going to come and say when was it written. I don't care when it was written. It depends on when it was given, not when it was written. So because of that, he doesn't hold of Resh Lakish. Says the Gemara, Bishaman le Resh Lakish. I understand according to Resh Lakish that he says it's because of perot. Shumhachi kamash Rabbi Shimon. That's why Rabbi Shimon says that if it's going to be a get which was written during the day and signed during the nighttime, it's going to be kosher. Right? Why? Because according to him, the husband loses the zechut of the perot immediately once he wrote the get. And even if it wasn't signed or given over, doesn't matter. Because the second that he wanted to divorce her, it's ki'ilu that he's already divorced, and therefore she doesn't get any perot, according to, right, what he says, according to Rabbi Shimon. So that's why he says, that's why Rabbi Shimon says it's going to be kosher. But according to Rabbi Yochanan, why does Rabbi Shimon say that it's going to be kosher if it was written during the day and signed during the nighttime? At the end of the day, maybe she had relations during the day. She cheated on him during the day. And then she's still an Eshatish. And then you're going to have a problem. So Rabbi Yochanan says, Aliba de Rabbi Shimon lo kamin. I was never speaking about that according to Rabbi Shimon. You're right. According to Rabbi Shimon, I don't know what the reason is. He kamin. I was speaking according to Rabbanan. If you're going to ask me, what's the reasoning of Rabbanan? The reasoning of Rabbanan is Shem Yechapeh bat achoto. What's the reasoning with Shimon? I don't know. Maybe you're right. Maybe it is perot. It doesn't matter. So says the Gemara, let's flip it. I understand according to Rabbi Yochanan, that's the reasoning that there is a difference between Rabbi Shimon and Rabbanan. But according to the Resh Lakish, what's the difference between Rabbi Shimon and Rabbanan? At the end of the day, even according to the Tanakama, the reason why is because of perot. So if it was written during the day and signed during the nighttime, the husband loses it immediately. So why be'emet then is it going to be kosher? And right, what's going on here? So he says, Machlok between them is, does the husband get fruit from the time of the writing of the get to the time of the signing of the get? Tanakama, and that's machlok between Tanakama and Shimon. When does he lose, right, the fruits? Rabbi Shimon holds that the husband loses the fruits immediately. The second he wrote the get, Kaddish. Before the signing. He's writing the get. Once he writes the get, he loses fruits. He doesn't get. If he wanted now to go and collect, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. He loses it immediately.
No,
according to Rabbi Shimon.
There's another rabbi who said it's fine if you write during the day and sign at night. So
yeah, it could be also a few hours, 6 hours, 10 hours, whatever. I'm saying 10 hours. I'm not going to say 12 because then it's already the next thing. But I'm saying, but it could be 10, whatever it is. So he says, payday the mishak tiva. That's a machlok between them. So says the Gemara, and we heard the exact opposite. The Itma was who stated, when do we come in? If a person came and he sold, right? When do we take out for the perot? The exact opposite we learned. Rabbi Yochanan learns that when does a person lose the rights of the perot and everything? From shat ktiva to get. And the Shaki says mishad netina to get. So it's the exact opposite of what we're saying now. We were saying now, ki'ilu, that according to Rabbi Yochanan, it didn't matter. It was only in Resh Lakish that it doesn't matter, right? And according to Resh Lakish, in Rabbi Shimon, right, it's going to be kosher because you lose it immediately, right? But according to Rabbanan, it's mishat netina, right? Here, it says exact opposite. Says the Gemara, epuch. You're right. Flip it. Rabbi Yochanan says from mishat netina, Resh Lakish says mishat ktiva, and then Resh Lakish is perfect, because he says that you lose the fruit from the time of writing it. And that's why Rabbi Shimon says that it's going to be kosher, because the second that you wrote it, you lost all the fruits. Elmaleh says, do you know we mentioned that there's going to be 3 different gitim, which are going to be psulim. Psulim means the midrabanan. She got married, the child is kosher. But since it's only the rabbanan, so the child is still kosher. It's not a mamzer. So says the Gemara, one second. If she got married and she has a child, and you're telling me now that it's kosher, so why in the world then, what did the rabbis help in the takana? So he says, Ahani, it helps, the lechatchila she can't get married. That's what helps. Meaning, when we said that there are 3 gitim which are psulim, it means lechatchila she cannot get married. So says the Gemara, Gazi lezman didev yahavinale. Fine. Maybe he's going to cut off the time and give it. You understood? Which means maybe he's going to chop off the date, and then he's going to give it like that. So what's halakha then? What do the rabbis help with the date? You understood why? The first line is a date. The first line is a date. Sometimes it's 1.5 lines, but let's pretend it's the first line, right? You know those things that you come and you cut pictures with that you. So you come, you take a paper. Remember, it's a regular piece of paper, right? You don't need a cloth or anything. So you take this paper, you do this, boom, you cut it. Here's the get. There's no zman. There's no date. So what do the rabbis help?
There's no the room to write the date.
No, but there's space in between lines. So you cut off the first line. What's the problem? So it says, Elmaleh, he says, L'ramai lo chashina. We don't suspect for ramayim. We don't suspect for tricksters. We're not going to suspect to these things. Okay? So fine. Katuv bo shavua, shana, chodesh, shabbat, mai. What happens if the get was not written yom ktivato? It was not written the day of the, right? It was not written the day, right? But rather it was written, right? We're talking about the shavua, which means, right? Here it says the shavua is the years in the Shemitah, right? For example, Shana, right? The year in the Shemitah, the Chodesh, the month, right? The Shabbat, even the week, right? What's halacha? Which means at the end of the day, it wasn't written the full date. It didn't say it was on Monday. It just said, for example, 3rd year in Shemitah, or now we're in this going into the 2nd year of Shemitah. No, we're in the 1st year after Shemitah, right? 1st year after Shemitah, right? So 1st year after Shemitah. Or you wrote down the month, Sivan. Yeah, or you wrote down the week, Parashat Naso. Right? But he didn't actually write down the full day. What's halacha? Elmaleh, he tells him kasher. So says the Gemara, so what does the Chachamim help in the Takana? If you're going to tell me it's going to be kasher, you know you're going to write down the real date, right? You wrote down the, berech.
We're talking about hours. Now it's days.
Yeah. So he says, "Ahanu l'shavua dekamei." No, it helps the week before and the week after. It helps something, right? Here it says for the Shemitah before and the Shemitah afterwards, because that's really the shavua here. But it all depends what it was. Okay. So he comes and he says, "If you're not going to say this, Yoma Gufei, Miadina Nimitzafra Mipanya, even the day, do you know if it was in the morning or if it was going to be towards the afternoon? You don't know. It helps for the day before and the day afterwards. So too, it's going to help for the 7 years before and the 7 years afterwards. That's what's going to help. So Amale Ravina Ravina comes and he says, Katvei, right? Ve'otve bekiste, timipayes atifayes mai. What happens right now if he went and he wrote a get to his wife and he signed it and he put it in his pocket and now he wanted to see if they were going to make shalom or not. They were going to make shalom or not. If they were going to make peace or not. What's halacha? Right? What is it? Why? Because here you have a zman and a get, but he didn't actually give it over then. He wanted to find out. He comes home and he has it, and then according to how she's going to act, is he going to pull out the Joker card or not? Depends how she acts. So what's halacha? Right? And then again, then we're going to speak about the answer. A person will never write a get unless he 100% wants to give a get to his wife. Meaning a person will never bring up a puranut on himself. It just doesn't make sense.
Fights,